Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Autodesk Virtual Academy, brought to you by KETIV Technologies. I'm Nigel Mbai, Customer Success Manager here at KETIV, and today we've got
Ryan Mokelman, also Customer Success Manager here at KETIV Technologies.
This is a double customer success webcast. I'm really excited for this, Brian. We've been talking about doing this for a while. Brian's gonna, show some cool iPart functionality within Inventor. For those of you who don't know, iParts is not an Apple product. It is indeed a Inventor functionality that Brian's going to go ahead and show us all today. If you do have any questions, go ahead and type those into the Zoom questions panel at any time. We'll go ahead and answer those for you. Also, stay tuned for some really cool announcements for some sessions happening here in the next couple of weeks. I'm sure those of you who are on the webcast and using things like Inventor, AutoCAD, and Vault might have gotten a couple of emails over the last couple of days stating some really exciting news. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to my good friend here, Brian, and we're going to get started with the webcast today.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Nigel.
Yep.
So what exactly is an iPart? So iParts is a master part or a factory file, some may call it, with parameters of different sizes and features. And they pretty much drive the different variations of your model, whether it's the size of the hole, the length, the width, the radius of the fillet, if it even has a fillet, or if it even has holes, or the number of holes. Anything that has a parameter or any feature that you can toggle on and off can be done with inside of iParts. And why are we concerned with iParts? So the reason we are taking a look at this today is so we can help you guys save time. And you can save time by reusing the parts that you already have created with iParts. You can, like I mentioned earlier, change some of the dimensions. You can change some of the features. So you don't have to necessarily go back and do that manually on your own or start anything from scratch. If you have a similar design, but you just need to tweak something here and there, iParts is perfect for that. And it also helps to increase design consistency. So since you don't have to go through the hassle of creating it over again, that will eliminate the potential human error that could be made by messing around with sketches and dimensions and things like that. So today we'll be creating this canopy leg with iParts, and the holes in this leg here represent like the different heights you can adjust the canopy at, and that could be something that we can use an iPart to be built around. And once again, just a reminder to leave those questions in the Zoom meeting. And either myself, Nigel, or our other colleague, Jessica, will be taking a look at that, and we will be answering most of them at the end of the webinar. Let's hop on over here to Inventor, and let's go ahead and create a new part. I'll go ahead and start creating the leg of the canopy here. And I'm going to create parameters inside of my dimension itself. One called width, and I'll have another one called length. I'll give it the same number there, just in case we want to change that later. And then I'll give this a thickness of, let's put THK for thickness, of about 0.1 of an inch there. So now we can go ahead and extrude this out. A height parameter of, let's say, 3 feet.
And we're done.
And we're done.
Podcast over.
And we have to create those holes, right? So then we can adjust it accordingly. And not everything needs a parameter, just the ones that you want to adjust. Another parameter here. So a lot of parameters everywhere. And we can either have use the hole command, or in this case, I'm just going to do an extrude cut. And this is one of my favorite tools here. That's extent to. So it'll cut to this face. So if the thickness, if we happen to change the thickness later on, it'll adjust accordingly. And lastly, we'll do a pattern of this hole feature or the cut here. Let's do 4 holes about 2 inches apart. Now we're done, almost. So now we just have a part, not an iPart yet. I'll go ahead and save that for now. Saving is a good habit. This is just a numbering scheme I have as a part of from my vault. It numerically numbers it. That's another can of worms. So I just saved my part number 44. And now to make it an iPart, we go over here to the Manage tab. We can just take a look at our parameters here. See that all of our parameters that we created are located here, and the ones that we didn't create a parameter for is notated as like a D4, D5. And to make the iPart, we just go over here under Author and hit Create iPart. And now it gives us the iPart Author window, which gives us a table that we can add more variables to or subtract from, where we can customize or drive our master part. So to keep this simple, I'll go ahead and get rid of some of these. I didn't actually create the one for the rectangular pattern here. So let me just go back here and turn this one into a parameter as well. Let's see, num holes, number of holes equals to 4. So now when I go back to my iPart here, let's see, I want to leave the height in and the number of holes. I'll take out the hole diameter. So now we can, right now we only have one member, I guess, or one row here. So one variation of the part. If I want to add more, I can just right click on that row and insert more. And I want to specify the different ones by the name. So the first one, let's call this a small member. And then it's going to give us a warning of, hey, you changed the name. This is going to change the file name for it. That's okay. And I'll go ahead and leave that at 3 feet with 4 holes. Then we'll create another one over here. And this one will be 4 feet with 8 holes. And if you can guess it, change this one to large. Oops, I'm putting number. Rhymes sort of with number. And this one will be 5 feet with 12 holes, just so you can have more adjustability. All right, so once you're done with that, everything's in order, go ahead and hit OK. And it will create a table for you at the top left-hand corner of the screen under your Model tab with the different iPart members. And let's test to see if it went through here. So let's see the medium member. It seemed to have extended it to 4 feet with 8 holes, and then double click for the large member for 5 feet with 12 holes. So now that I confirmed that those are indeed correct here, we can go ahead and select these, and we want to generate these parts, because right now these are all presiding inside number 44, part 44 here, but we want to generate, right click and generate these files. So then if we take a look at, let's see here, where's my file explorer? This is where I store all my data, number 44 here. So this, if you take a look here, this isn't the part itself. The part itself is number 44 down below here. That's the master part. this is the folder that contains the iParts that we just created. And just keep in mind, these parts aren't the ones that we want to be putting into assemblies or sending to other people. You want to send still or insert the master part that's at this folder level down below here instead. So when you insert this into an assembly, for example, then it will prompt you for what size of the part 44 that you want to bring in.
Yeah. So just to reiterate that, right, is we have the iPart members inside of this folder in which the master part is referencing. So you want, like Brian said, you want to put the master part in every assembly that you use. That's the only way you're going to be able to get those options to use A, B, or C in terms of the members for that file.
Exactly.
Hopefully that makes sense.
And let's go ahead and show you guys. So we'll start a new assembly. And then we'll place part or number 44. And this is the master part. And we can choose from different ones to insert. Right now, we'll go ahead and insert the small member. I can toggle in this a window here to insert the medium one. And then the large one, of course. Oh, there are all the different variations of your part there. And now let's say you want to make a change to this part. You want to, the customer or the designer wants to add a fillet to this part. We can just go back to the master part here. Just gonna add a fillet to one of these edges here. And then if I go ahead and take a look at the assembly here, it's gonna give me this local update icon with that thunderbolt. I'm going to go ahead and hit that because it realizes that now a fillet is added to this part here. And if you just want a fillet to be on the medium and the large canopy leg and not the small one, you can control that as well. So if I go back to my part, I go to the iPart author under suppression, and I'm going to bring over the fillet that I just created to something that's controllable inside my table. And I will type in suppress. And that will go ahead and suppress it in my small member. So now if I go back to the assembly, that update is there again. Now you can see that this small member has no fillet, but the medium and large do. All right. And another thing I wanted to add to this is if a customer or the designer wants to control the leg even more, they want to control exactly the number of holes. They don't want to just go with the default 4, 8, and 12, as well as controlling the length of it. They don't want just 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. They might want 3 1/4 or 3 1/2 feet. So what you can do for that is create a custom iPart. And to create a custom iPart, you can begin creating your part like we did earlier. So I have this part 51 here that I created earlier, and it's on its way to become an iPart, or it is an iPart, but it's on its way to be completely populated. And we take a look here in the tables. I'll go ahead and first add the number of holes over, as well as the height again. What we can do to make it customizable is we can right click on the column that we want to give the user customizability by going under here to custom parameter column, and it'll make it purple, but now they have the ability when inserting into their assembly to change this value, and they can change it within a range you specify. So for example, I don't want them to have less than 4 holes, but I don't want them to have more than 12 holes. And you can specify the increment for it. So they are not putting half of a hole or 4 1/2 of a hole. And same goes for the height. I'm going to specify the range. It can only be between 3 feet and 5 feet, and we can also see that we didn't have to put in the IN there, it populated that for us. And we're going to specify the increment for the column, so it's not going to be 44 1/4 inches. It'll just go up and down by 1. All right. And lastly, I do want to name this a different name, maybe add a 0 for it. And what this will do is every time it increases the, or every time we create a new part with a different, with a custom number of holes and a custom height, it will keep adding a different member name. So it would go from part 51-0, maybe 0, to part 51-01, 02, etc. All right, so now let's go ahead and test that. So we go over here to assembly 11, and we want to put in the part. It'll be part 51. And I put it at, it's just going to be part 51 for now. This was something I messed around with earlier, so don't mind that. My numbering scheme, if you guys have numbering schemes from Vault, is appearing again. We're going to want to skip this because this will override the naming convention that I want for this. And now it's going to be part 51-0, and I'm going to be able to specify. Now we have 2 boxes here. I could specify in this box the number of holes I want, as well as the height. So we can make it at 3.5 feet with 9 holes. Now, if I place that in there, I'll go ahead and save that. We can see that this is the 3.5 feet, and there should be 9 holes there. And let's just do that one more time so I can show that inside of here, it's going to be the -0. Might be, sorry if it's a little hard to understand there because of the other 2 ones. But I can go ahead and bring in part 51 again, skip the numbering scheme, maybe add another hole and make this. So if I try to type in maybe 39 inches, if I try to type in like a 1/2 inch here, it should disallow it when I select out of here. It's going to probably round up. There we go, because I set the incremental value to 1. And now this should be the different, it had an extra hole here, and I changed the length a little bit. And then if we take a look at the File Explorer, we should see 51-01. There you go. Yep. So we just did this part here and that part there. All right. So now let's take a step back and take a look at the part, the standard iPart that we created earlier with the small, medium, and large member. And now let's say we want to send this out to manufacturing and we want to show the different iParts in a drawing, perhaps. So Inventor is smart enough to see that there are different, or it's smart enough to bring over the values that we created in here into our drawing environment. So if let's go ahead and create a new drawing here. And now if I go to annotate, and instead of creating a parts list, we're going to go ahead and click general, or create a general table. Select the view we want to create the table for. And then before we place that table, I'm going to add the different features that I want to see in this table. Place that table in there. And now we have a table that populated with the member name and those other variables as well. So, and I don't like the UL here, so I'll go ahead and I can always edit the table. And I'll go ahead and make that unit less without the unit string. So now I have the number of holes as a clean 4, 8, and 12. All right. So that's essentially it. We went over let's go back to the PowerPoint here. We created the parameters as we designed the model. We can always open the parameters window to edit or create the variable name in there. We created the members, or we managed the features in the iPart author window. We created a custom iPart. We can go deeper into the custom iPart another time, or if you guys have any questions on that, feel free to let us know. But there's more to that. This was just a higher level of how those work. We inserted iParts into the assembly and just make sure that you insert the master one, not the generated members. And lastly, we brought the iPart into the drawing environment and showed how to show the different table values for each feature, and we can toggle which ones you want to show, of course. So those are our email addresses. We always like receiving emails from you guys, and any questions or anything like that. I think that's a good time to go over right now.
Yeah. Cool. Again, Brian, I'd like to thank you for being here. Brian sits next to me in the office. I have to see him every day, which is
a joy.
Oh, it's a joy, definitely. I got to see him put it all together, so it's really exciting. So thanks again, Brian, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We will be here next week with our good friend Alex Alvarez, who sits in the snake pit with us here at KETIV Technologies. Everyone have a great weekend, and stay safe. Bye.